On my first day, the new CTO's daughter looked at me and snapped, "Go back to your fantasy football games, boy." I packed my patent portfolio and left without a word. Then everything fell apart. My name is Nathan White. I'm 29 years old, and until that Tuesday morning in September, I was the lead systems architect at Quantum Dynamics Technologies in Austin, Texas. For 3 years, I'd been the invisible force behind their revolutionary AI processing platform, holding 5 critical patents that formed the backbone of their entire operation. The new CTO was Harrison Hall, a Silicon Valley veteran who'd been brought in to modernize operations and prepare the company for their IPO. What nobody mentioned was that his 26-year-old daughter Vivian would be joining as Director of Strategic Innovation, despite having zero technical background and an MBA from a school that cost more than most people's houses. My first interaction with Vivian happened during what was supposed to be a routine team introduction meeting. I'd been working since 6 a.m., preparing for the quarterly product review, when she walked into our conference room wearing designer clothes that probably cost more than my monthly salary. "Good morning, everyone," she announced, surveying the room like she was inspecting merchandise. "I'm Vivian Hall, and I'll be overseeing innovation strategy moving forward." She went around the table, asking each team member to explain their role. When she reached me, I introduced myself as the lead systems architect and mentioned that I held several patents related to our core AI processing algorithms. That's when her expression changed. "Patents?" she said, raising an eyebrow. "How old are you exactly?" 29. "Right." She laughed, a sound that made the entire room uncomfortable. "Listen, boy, I'm sure you're good with computers, but patent work is serious business. Why don't you go back to your fantasy football games and let the adults handle the real innovation?" The silence in the room was deafening. My colleagues, people I'd worked alongside for years, stared at their laptops, unwilling to make eye contact. I felt my face flush, but I kept my voice steady. "Actually, my patents are foundational to the AI algorithms that power our entire platform. Without them what?" Vivian interrupted. "The company would collapse, please. Everything here was built by real engineers, not kids playing with code." That's when something inside me went very quiet and very cold. I closed my laptop, gathered my patent documentation from the table, and stood up. "You're absolutely right," I said calmly. "Real engineers built this company." "Where are you going?" Vivian asked, suddenly looking less confident. "To handle some patent business," I replied, walking toward the door. What Vivian didn't understand, what none of them understood, was that those 5 patents weren't just technical documents. They were the legal foundation that allowed Quantum Dynamics to use algorithms I'd developed personally. Algorithms that processed 90% of their AI computations. If you've ever wondered how much one person can really matter to a company's success, hit subscribe for more stories about underestimated experts. I spent the rest of that Tuesday in my office, not coding or debugging, but reviewing legal documents, patent licensing agreements, employment contracts, intellectual property clauses. The kind of paperwork most engineers ignore, but that I'd studied carefully when I first joined the company. What I discovered changed everything. My patents had been licensed to Quantum Dynamics under a personal employment agreement that included a specific clause. If my employment was terminated or if I was subjected to discriminatory treatment, the licensing agreement could be revoked with 48 hours' notice. I'd insisted on that clause 3 years earlier. Not because I expected problems, but because my father was a lawyer who taught me to protect my work. At the time, the company had agreed because they needed my algorithms desperately. Now that clause looked like the key to everything. Wednesday morning brought an email from Harrison Hall requesting a meeting to discuss team dynamics and communication improvements. Translation: someone had told him about Vivian's behavior and he was trying to manage the situation. I declined the meeting, Instead, I spent Wednesday afternoon with Catherine Hughes, an intellectual property attorney who specialized in tech patents. She reviewed my employment contract and patent agreements with the thoroughness of someone who'd seen similar situations before. "This is unusual," she said after an hour of reading. "Most companies require employees to assign all patents directly to the corporation. Your licensing structure gives you significant leverage." "What kind of leverage?" "The kind that could shut down their operations if you revoke the licenses." I thought about Vivian's smirk, her casual dismissal of my work, her assumption that someone my age couldn't possibly have created anything important. How long would it take to revoke the licenses? 48 hours notice as specified in your agreement. But Nathan, you need to understand the implications. If those algorithms are as critical as you say, this could destroy the company. Thursday morning, I sent a formal notice to Quantum Dynamics' legal department. The language was precise and professional. Due to discriminatory treatment in violation of company policy, I was exercising my right to revoke patent licensing agreements effective Friday at 5 p.m. The response was immediate. Harrison Hall called my direct line within an hour. "Nathan, we need to talk, now." "I'm not sure there's anything to discuss, Mr. Hall. Your daughter made the company's position quite clear. Vivian is young. She made a mistake. We can work this out. The licensing revocation is already in process. Legal has been notified." Silence on the line, then. "You can't be serious. Those patents are integrated into everything we do." "Yes, they are. This is corporate suicide. You'll destroy your own career." "Mr. Hall, your daughter called me boy and told me to go back to fantasy football games. She dismissed 3 years of work because she didn't think someone my age could contribute anything meaningful. Those aren't the actions of a company that values its employees." "I'll handle Vivian. Just withdraw the revocation notice." "The notice stands." Thursday afternoon brought a parade of visitors to my office. The VP of Engineering, the Chief Technology Officer, even the CEO himself. Everyone wanted to understand what I was doing and why. The CEO, Richard Hawthorne, was the most direct. "Nathan, help me understand your thinking here. You're willing to destroy a company that employs 300 people because my CTO's daughter hurt your feelings?" "Mr. Hawthorne, I'm protecting intellectual property that I created. If Quantum Dynamics valued that property and the person who created it, we wouldn't be having this conversation." "What do you want? A raise, a promotion, stock options?" "I want respect and an acknowledgement that age doesn't determine competence." "Done. Vivian will apologize publicly. We'll make this right." I looked at him across my desk. This man who'd built a company worth hundreds of millions, who was now begging a 29-year-old engineer not to destroy his IPO plans. "Mr. Hawthorne, the revocation notice has been filed. My patents will be withdrawn from company use as of Friday at 5 p.m. Friday morning arrived with the energy of a funeral. Word had spread throughout the company that something catastrophic was happening, though most people didn't understand the details. I arrived at my normal time, 6 a.m., and found my office filled with flowers, coffee, and handwritten notes from colleagues. Apologies from people who'd witnessed Vivian's behavior but hadn't spoken up. Pleas to reconsider from team members who understood how critical my work was to their projects. At 10 a.m., Vivian appeared at my door. "We need to talk," she said, looking like she hadn't slept in days. "I don't think we do." "Look, I made a mistake. I misjudged you. I'm sorry." I leaned back in my chair. "What exactly are you sorry for?" For calling you boy. For dismissing your work, for not understanding how important your contributions are." "And what changed your mind?" Her composure cracked slightly. "My father explained that your patents are essential to our core operations. That without them, our IPO is dead, our contracts are void, and the company will likely fold within months." "Interesting. So you're not sorry for treating me disrespectfully?" You're sorry that the person you disrespected turned out to be important. That's not fair. Neither was your assumption that someone my age couldn't have built something meaningful. She stood in my doorway for another minute, clearly searching for something to say that might change my mind. Finally, she left without another word. At 4 p.m., the entire executive team gathered in the conference room next to my office. I could see them through the glass walls, animated discussions, people pointing at laptops, phone calls being made, the energy of panic. At 4:45, Harrison Hall knocked on my door one final time. "Nathan, I'm begging you. Name your price, anything you want." "Mr. Hall, there isn't a price. This isn't about money." "Then what is it about?" "It's about the fact that your daughter looked at a young engineer and assumed he was worthless. It's about a company culture that values connections over competence. It's about 3 years of work being dismissed because I don't fit someone's image of what an innovator should look like." At exactly 5 p.m., my patent licenses expired. The effects were immediate and devastating. By 5:30, every major system at Quantum Dynamics had crashed. The AI processing platform couldn't function without my algorithms. Customer applications went offline. The development environment became unusable. By 6 p.m., the phones were ringing constantly. Clients demanding explanations, partners threatening contract cancellations, investors asking pointed questions about the company's technical stability. Over the weekend, I received dozens of calls from headhunters and competing companies. Word had spread through the tech community about what had happened, and everyone wanted to hire the engineer who'd single-handedly brought down a major corporation. Monday morning brought news that Quantum Dynamics had postponed their IPO indefinitely. Tuesday brought reports that 3 major clients had terminated their contracts. By Wednesday, the company's valuation had dropped by 60%. Harrison Hall was forced to resign on Thursday. Vivian quietly left the company the same day with reports that she was pursuing other opportunities in consulting. 2 weeks after my patent revocation, Richard Hawthorne called personally. "Nathan, we are prepared to offer you whatever it takes to come back. Chief Technology Officer position, equity package, public apology, whatever you need." "I appreciate the offer, Mr. Hawthorne, but I've accepted a position elsewhere." "Where?" "Stellar Innovations. They're a competitor and they understand the value of innovation regardless of who creates it." The silence stretched for a long moment. Then, "Can we at least discuss relicensing your patents? The company won't survive without them." "Mr. Hawthorne, those patents were developed by someone your team considered too young and inexperienced to matter. I think it's appropriate that they find other solutions." 3 months later, I was settling into my new role as Chief Innovation Officer at Stellar Innovations. Earning twice my previous salary and leading a team of engineers who treated ideas based on merit, not assumptions about age or appearance. Quantum Dynamics had managed to develop workaround solutions for my patents, but the process had taken months and cost millions in lost contracts and delayed projects. Their IPO had been permanently shelved, and the company was now a fraction of its former size. I heard through industry contacts that Vivian had started her own consulting firm, advising companies on innovation strategy. The irony wasn't lost on me. 6 months after leaving Quantum Dynamics, I received an unexpected LinkedIn message from one of my former colleagues. The company had been acquired by a larger corporation at a significantly reduced valuation. Most of the original team had been laid off during the transition. "Your patents," the message read, "were worth more than any of us realized. Maybe if we'd stood up for you in that meeting, things would have been different." Maybe they would have, but the experience taught me something valuable about assumptions, respect, and the danger of judging people based on superficial characteristics. Vivian had looked at a young engineer and seen someone unworthy of consideration. She'd assumed that innovation only comes from people who fit certain stereotypes: older, more established, connected to the right networks. What she'd missed was that innovation often comes from unexpected places. From young engineers working late nights on problems nobody else wants to solve. From people who care more about the work than the recognition. The patents she'd dismissed as fantasy football games were the foundation of everything her father's company had built. The boy she'd tried to send away had created the algorithms that powered their entire operation. Sometimes the most dangerous assumption is that you can judge someone's worth by their age, appearance, or background. Sometimes the person you dismiss as unimportant turns out to be the one holding everything together. And sometimes when that person walks away, you discover exactly how much you had to lose.